Welcome to this episode of Your Spiritual Business Coach. I am your host, Ashu. I am the coach for light leaders ready to own their fierce self expression and build audiences that trust you with their eyes closed. We do this by integrating feline energy, which helps you birth match made in heaven offers and whisker licking good marketing. In this episode, I have a really special guest with me. Her name is Vidhu, and she's one of my lovely clients. And this episode is titled How I Helped My Client Break Generational Patterns, Generational Business Patterns. And this episode is going to be truly an insight for you to understand what kind of generational patterns might be playing out in your business or the money stories that you have, and how it is interfering with your business, and then how you can work with me and we can work on these patterns together and the kind of results and ripple effects that creates. So I am super excited. Welcome to the podcast, Vidhu.
Hi, Ashu. Thank you for having me. It definitely is a wish list tick off. I wanted to do this for sure. The way I thought that you might be on my podcast first, but I think this is how it was meant to happen. And
And
yeah, I can't believe we've been associated for so long. It's been more than a year, and I don't know where time flew. Do you realize that it's been a year?
I don't, because I feel like I still can't wrap my head around the fact that the retreat was almost one, like in January, and we're recording this in November. On 11th November, started the recording at 11:11 a.m. And I can't figure out the fact that the retreat was so long ago, because I feel like I just came back from India. I just met all of you. I just hugged you and we had the most amazing experience. And you just recorded the first podcast episode with me in front of me in the background, and I'm looking at you. And I am just in awe of the connection that we've created. But I do want people to know who you are, what you do. So I would love for you to share what you do with the person listening to this episode. What is the kind of work you do? Who works with you? If someone's listening and they feel like, oh, I need a Vidhu in my life, then who would that person be?
I don't know how I define myself. I think the term that I generally use that I'm an energy coach, but I know energy coach as a field in itself or as a vertical in itself is so vast. So let me deep dive into what do I do. I personally believe through my experience and my clients' experience that there are a lot of places where we give away our energy, where we shouldn't be giving away our energy. And that's what drains you. And then you feel like, oh, I didn't get to do this, or you are thinking about something else which shouldn't be taking up a lot of space in your head. And that means that you are not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, which bring you joy, which bring you happiness. And I'm not saying it from a money, a business, or a job aspect, but even in everyday life. I I truly believe in this one liner that says attention is energy. So I help you focus your attention back on what is more important. Help you plug those energy leaks so that you're not wasting away your time in things that don't need your energy, but you're reserving that energy and giving it to something that needs your attention. You're able to build some routines and techniques that help you refill your cup. We all spend our energy, spend that battery of energy that we have, and it gets depleted the way your phone does, so you need to recharge it as well. So we work with some techniques that are personalized for you, and along with this, I also work with you in your business, and that's why preferably I try to work with people who are solopreneurs or people who are with small teams. But I am open to someone who has a larger team but understands the requirements that I have. And yeah, so they are open to reach out to me, because I am not the coach who's going to be meeting you once a week and telling you, oh, you tell me what's going on in your business. Because the first thing that I realized that happens is I need to work with you to understand how you're working. I just need to watch you. And then I can tell you that, listen, this is, where some things are not the best suited for you. And it definitely goes into a very personal consultation. I genuinely believe that each one of us is wired differently. So I need to give a lot of customized solutions. And that's why I have that one-on-one coaching container. I know that's the best way for it to move ahead. And that's what I like to do. So this is one of the things I do, that I will be part of your business, will be working with you in your business. So yeah, that's for me, that's the definition of being an energy coach. That's what I bring to the table. So yeah, long as intro, as usual.
And that's how it's supposed to be, because literally you cannot really box. You cannot just say I'm a life coach and then end it there, because you're not. You're so much more than that. And you cannot just say that you are a energy coach and then what is an energy coach? You need to go into depth with it. And if you're excited and passionate about something, you will go on and on to explain that. And I love the fact that you are incorporating what we worked on inside our one-on-one coaching container, is that this is your uniqueness. And I love it, because Vidhu is not the coach who pops into your business once and then is gone. She is the coach who's going to stay there, who's going to be like, I'm actually working alongside you. I have all information about what you're doing. I have tabs on you basically and your business. And I know it. You don't have to fill me in on what is going on. You don't have to fill, because I can see it happening. And that is the most unique spot. And to be able to find that unique spot, it took us some time to like, this is how you want to phrase it. But yes, it was definitely a journey. Now,
Definitely.
yeah,
I think one of the biggest challenges I've had, and that's where working with you, I mean, not just a one-on-one container, I think working with you across all the containers and meetings and retreats we've been part of was help me find my space. And I think that's what I'm meant to do. When you look at it from an HD perspective, I'm supposed to pave the path. And what I was doing was I was looking at someone else and thinking this is all that I can do. The more I understood myself and I, got in tune with that, I broke some of the patterns and the conditioning that I was having, is when I realized that I'm the one supposed to pave the path. I don't have anyone else to look to. Maybe I may find them, but they're not going to be a lot of people. But I'm going to have 100 people have their eyes on me. So I need to show them that this is possible. And that's what I'm trying to do. Like maybe you won't find a lot of people in this space doing this, but I know this works for me. This is the way I will be able to work the best, because the kind of work that I'm doing, the biggest challenge over there is going to be people won't be able to tell me what it is that they're actually struggling with, because they don't know. If you're talking about something for which you don't have a heightened awareness, when you have that heightened awareness, you're saying that, oh, you come and talk to me and tell me where you're struggling. What I am working towards is you don't even know what you're probably struggling with, and I can just help you identify by watching you and knowing how you work, and I'll ask questions, and that's gonna help me. So yeah, that's one of the primary reasons why this happens. And yeah, you find me doing weird, not heard before stuff, welcome to my world. That's what I did to say to someone who's listening.
I love that you said that I am here to help you with problems that you might not even be well aware of. And that is so important, because that totally shifts everything you know about business. The whole point, what you're taught in business is talk to the problems of the clients. But the clients don't even know their problem. That is a big problem. You need to talk to that. How do you work with that? And that is one of the beautiful things of working with you, is that you are showing them, hey, you might want to look here. Here is a problem you are not aware of. And it's more like doing like shadow work, addressing parts of yourselves and your business that you might not have seen before, and they're not working together. And you said something that across containers, I want to take a minute and take an inventory of the containers you worked with me in, which I think will be a very difficult job, but okay. Intentional Business Mastermind is definitely something. Was that the first thing that we worked in together? Yeah. Yes. So IBM was like an old mastermind, but the most heartfelt experience I had created. And then we were in the retreat together. I hosted my first in-person retreat and you were there, and it was such a beautiful experience. And also we did like a womb healing there, which worked out really beautifully. Yeah, I loved the experience you shared of it with me. Yes, I think we worked on a lot of healing together, which brings me to the one-on-one coaching. So after that, we worked in the one-on-one coaching container. Before that, we worked in the together Cosmic Sales Elixir and one-on-one. We worked together, which is to show anyone who's listening to this that if you wonder will people sign up for multiple containers? Isn't that weird? No, it's not. I have my clients sign up for multiple containers at the same time all the time. So we worked in Cosmic Sales Elixir and one-on-one. And I want you to describe how, like, what brought you to me since then, and what was it that made you want to work with me? How did you find your way to me?
Okay, in between all of this, I would also like you, I mean, this is my suggestion to you, as the coach in me is coming out alive. You're also forgetting the workshops that I've attended with you, because that was the biggest thing that brought me to you, which is a 3-day feline energy workshop. That's what we've done. We've also done readings and all of that, right? Where we've done smaller bits and pieces. I have that in my journal. By the way, listeners, I have a journal title that says Vidhu and Ashu's journey. So yeah, I'll have to probably go back to that. I've written down dates of everything. And yes, I am also looking to have another container with you. Let's talk about that as well. But yeah, so there's been a lot of things we've done together, and I think I've had all of them come together to help me and be the person that I am today, who's speaking today. Because I know that the answers that I speak today would have been very different if this was happening a year ago. So coming back to, I'm going to touch base a little bit upon how I went into IBM. So I know Ashu since January 2023 because I've been following her. We had some common people. I found her. I found stationery that empowers. And I still remember, I still keep telling you, you need to come back to India once and kind of email that allo date. Okay, I still want a piece of that, but I think that's one of the experiences that's in my head. That I was like, the scene is so cute and nice, and I want to order it up. And that's when I started following her content everywhere. And then, of course, I didn't get it. And then she had shifted. I didn't even know that. So then by that time, she shifted. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, did I miss an opportunity to work with her? And that's how I looked at it. But here comes IBM. And thank you for doing that last content. I still remember your story where you said that you didn't even know if you wanted to do this last container of IBM. And that's what made me join you. The content you posted to market that is something that made me join Ashu for IBM. And what IBM has given me today is I have a tribe of women who are my biggest cheerleaders, my biggest supporters. And I'm glad that I was part of that container. Somewhere I feel that you launched it and you went ahead with the launch just to have me in your space, because that's how I'm looking at it. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't be with you for so long. So thank you for doing what you do. And like that was the first space. But definitely I was going through a very tough time a year before that. And somewhere that container helped me release all the baggage that I had. And anyone who's tuning in, I can let you all know I had a big cry sesh in front of a group of women, which I don't think I've ever done before. But I know how healing it was, and that's what I like to call as the Ashu magic. She brings together people, and she sprinkles a little bit of her magic, and she builds these beautiful connections that people maintain even after the container ends, and that's how it has been for me. And then after that, I'm going to jump to the feline workshop. Oh my God, I still remember that workshop. I definitely wanted to attend it live, but I know I couldn't attend it live on all days. And I know I've told you this story, so letting all the listeners in as well. I don't think so I've ever been very dedicated to catching the replays of any workshop that I've missed. And I know I was up until 3 a.m. in the night thinking that, oh, the replays are going to expire. I need to catch up on the replays and I want to do that. And by the time day 3 ended, I was like, I feel a calling to do the one-on-one container. And you were pitching that container in that workshop. And I had caught the replays on the last day, which means almost 5 days had passed after you completed the workshop. And I was like, will she have slots? And remember, this is 8 a.m., 4 a.m. IST. I'm thinking, will she have slots? I'm like, okay, let me take a chance. So I click on that Calendly link and she still has slots. I booked one and we got into a call, and I think from there, it's a journey that I took. But for me, the way I look at that UN Energy workshop, and hey, for people who are tuning in, she still has that available. She has that as a 3-day free workshop that she gives away. So please grab it. I can't stress on how magical that workshop is. But yeah, I think for me, that's if I like to point out a time in our timeline together, that was the game changer, right? I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but you might be wondering. That's a learning for me, that sometimes free workshops and containers are something that bring so much change in someone's life that you don't even realize that's the impact you're having on other people. I am someone, so from a background, if people who are familiar with HD, people who are familiar with astrology, and tell them that, first of all, I'm a manifesting generator, which means I need to flow. And that's a big conditioning I have to break, point number one. Point number two, the more I drove deep into who I am and trying to figure out who I am is, of course, I knew that as per Western astrology, I have a Leo sun. But if I look at it from a Vedic astrology point of view, I have a Leo sun and a Leo moon. I was not living up. There was no way anyone who would have met me would say that there's a Leo energy embodiment. And the reason for that was heavy questioning. And that's where I'm probably going to start upon what kind of generational trauma came in, because when I look back, that's where it started. So I'm someone who technically in the terms becomes someone who's a cusp sign, because I'm towards the end of Leo and I'm moving to Virgo. And yeah, as per Western astrology, I also have a Virgo moon, which means I was super confused about who I was. And this is what I've heard, because I have cousins who are Leos, who were born, let's say, a couple of days before me. And I've heard this since childhood. You're not a true Leo. You're not a true Leo. And I didn't even realize I was embodying it. I don't know. And when I said, like, in my container, I like to observe people, is from my experiences. That's what I'm bringing to the table. I never knew I had something that was conditioning the way I show up, the way I behave. I was very subdued. Like, if someone can understand Hindi here in the listeners, it's a sehma sehma bolte hai. You're very subdued. You're very, I'm not say introverted, but you hold yourself back. You don't express yourself. You're not demanding things which you feel you should get. And I didn't even realize that. I mean, imagine it's taken me now. Like, it's just been a year before that I got to know about this. And the belief that that conditioning gave me was that I am not a true Leo, so I can never behave like a Leo, which means I was thinking myself of being someone who's going to be very emotional, who's not going to be fierce. I subdued that fierceness. I used to be always, oh, let's not step on someone's toes, and oh, I'll give this up. I will not do this so as to not,
I'll not take the stage.
yeah, exactly. And I'll not make someone else angry. I'll keep everyone happy. And I understand you get this, because I know you've had a very different experience, but kind of a similar thing that came in for you. And I was like, why am I not owning up? And imagine that causes frustration in you. You're not living authentically, and somewhere that causes a lot of frustration. And you're wondering why are things not working out for me, and you are thinking that, oh, they will not work out for me because I'm not meant to work out for me. And that conditioning was so ingrained. I know that when I was working with you, I think half of the time we just spent doing things, because I had to break so many conditioning layers, so many trauma layers that came in through family. And that's something you never expect. For me, I mean, I love my family. There's nothing about that. But I also understand that there was a lot of conditioning that got passed on to me. And today I know I've become much better in terms of setting boundaries. And that has helped me discover myself. And the more I was able to, like, that was the start point for me, the feline workshop that I had, where I was like, okay, I am a Leo. I want to embody the lioness in me. I started, right? that's where the journey began. And slowly and steadily, it meant that I was also able to open up and speak up. I think the way I look at it is getting into a one-on-one container with you was also a way of expressing that, okay, I want to invest in something. I want to get help. I want to move ahead. I do not want to live like this for the rest of my life. Obviously, I embody that in my containers as well. Just for a slight background, I didn't start off as an energy. I started off as a V. Somewhere in the journey of discovering myself, my healing journey, my spiritual journey, getting back to my spiritual roots is something that propelled me to become an energy coach. And that's where the shift happened. In fact, IBM was the place where we did a lot of somatic exercises. That's where my coaching container was first, technically. And that's where the shift happened. So that's where I started off with you. I know that, this is where I say that you truly embody the tagline that says your spiritual bestie. But yeah, that's where you're for me. You're my bestie. I can discuss spiritual stuff with you. You understand the kind of spiritual stuff I want to talk about. And for me, I know it's very difficult to find spaces that help understand these things, and that's what I also want to build. A space where people can ask their questions, have a spiritual journey of theirs go on. Because I was introduced to spirituality at the age of 9 and I've been very spiritual, but somewhere in the course of living life with a lot of conditioning that came in my teenage years, I left that. Today I have discovered it in my life, and I know that it's an amalgamation of all these things that is causing that difference. I'm showing up like, hey, I wore lipstick today. I am wearing makeup. I'm showing up dressed up. For me, this is an embodiment of the lioness in me. Speaking on a podcast is an expression of the feline energy in me, and I'm learning to honor that. I mean, probably earlier, if someone would say that, your content is nice, I'd be like, and you're being just too nice. I'd probably put it on that person, saying that that person is nice, and that's why they're complimenting me. It doesn't mean that I am worthy of that compliment. I've even shifted that. And someone may think it's a small thing. It's not. It's a big thing. It impacts your confidence in ways you probably don't even imagine. But learning to accept compliments is also the way I think that is a way you also learn to accept love and money. So if you're someone who's struggling with abundance, look at the fact that are you ready to receive compliments? Because if you're not ready to receive compliments, you're probably struggling to also receive abundance. And I think this was a very long answer, but yeah,
That's all right.
She's a used
I am pretty used to it, and you don't have to say that. But yes, for the feline energy trainings, I made some pointers that I want to mention. For the feline energy trainings, they are there in the show notes for the people who are like, what the hell is she talking about? Because this season 3 of your Spiritual Business Coach podcast is all about feline energy. And that's why I have you guesting here so that we can talk more about feline energy and make people understand what it truly is. And you are also an embodiment of the feline energy, and you've stepped into it slowly, because feline energy really called a lot of people into my world. When I owned up to my gifts, a lot of people just automatically felt attracted to it. There were so many people who did day 1 and they got a fever, and that fever came out by day 3. So that it went down by day 3, and there was so many shifts happening. And what the hell have I done with this program? What did I put out there? And that time I still didn't quite grasp the concept of feline energy that well. At that time, I just wanted to make everything cat coded. But now that I've built out the concept properly, now that I have the pillars and everything, I understand this is what was happening. And I love that you shared about the containers, because my containers have been the safest spaces online. That's how I feel about it. I have had people share their most vulnerable sides and cry and be held by the group. Even in my one-on-one coaching containers, I have had people share their deepest secrets, and even the ones people think are not related to business, but they just want it. So, like, they wanted to be off their chest, get it off their chest. And they would share it in the calls and cry, because it is because of that safe space I'm facilitating in my coaching containers. And I love that you said that you're investing in a coaches for yourself as well, because a lot of people forget that they just call it, I am investing in a coach, which also means I'm investing in myself. But they always say, I'm investing in you because I trust you. No, you're investing in me because you trust me and because you're taking a chance on yourself too. You're taking a chance on trusting yourself, which is something a lot of people forget to understand, that you trust yourself every time you make an investment, especially as a woman, an Indian woman who has never been allowed to be in charge of her finances, make her own decisions, select her own clothes. God damn it, she always has to take a second opinion on, is this suit looking nice? And if the mother-in-law or the mother says no, this is too much, or your family won't be happy about it, you just don't take it. Even that decision is second guessed. Then investing in someone and using your money to pay for it, it's a whole nother level of commitment to yourself.
I don't know how you ended up talking about this, but I definitely have stories that I want to share. Yeah, I mean, you said wear clothes and all of that. I've been someone who's been through that, where I think today, I mean, I just ended up shopping. I know Diwali and birthday also when about shopping, yeah, but I also got back my sense of style. I was able to be comfortable to embody the kind of clothes that I wanted to wear. And I'll tell you one thing, I didn't have a conditioning from my immediate parents. I had conditioning from others and social media. Imagine that this is the kind of conditioning we're talking, which is not your immediate circle. It's not your family and your friends. But it's more people saying that, oh, you shouldn't wear this. You shouldn't wear this. You shouldn't wear these kind of silhouettes. And what it does, it makes you start second guessing yourself as to what is it that you can wear. And for me, I think I also lost my sense of style because I started dressing up based on what someone else said will look good on me. And do things, as I said, to please others. Get that tag of, yeah, this looks good on you. You're a good girl. You listen to me. I mean, I hate that good girl syndrome. And I don't have a problem with it. See, if it works for you, great. But understand and ask yourself, does that work for me? Or is it something that I'm doing just because I've been told there's no other way to live? I mean, who decides who's good or bad? It's a subjective term. Instead, you get taught, especially in an Indian context, is these are your rules. This is what you follow. And if you don't follow them, then you're bad. Otherwise, you're good. What the hell is this? Who said this? I mean, are we still in the colonial rule? I don't think so. We don't need to follow rules. So let's get out. I think generational trauma also, this is one part of generational trauma. That's what I believe in. We are a country that we're under the rule of someone else who decided that someone else decides the rules, and we be taught to follow rules. So somewhere that has been passed on. So somewhere when you are a person who breaks that, you kind of get the tag of being someone who doesn't listen, you're unruly, and all of that. You get a lot of
Talking
adjectives.
back.
No, you get a lot of adjectives. I don't even know if people know the meaning of the words, but you get thrown a lot of adjectives. And once you break them and you are successful, then people I would like to think that as that is, let's say, the kind of ceiling you have to break. That's like a ceiling you have to break. That's your challenge. Step up to it. You have challenges in every phase of your life. Step up to it, break them, and pave a new path for the generations to come, for the people in your circle. Because you do not realize that when you break something, you are in turn inspiring others to break their cycles, to break their trauma, to heal their trauma, work towards being more authentic. And I mean, one part of what I do in my containers is also this. I think I give this disclaimer when people want to sign up. Like, one of my biggest asks is that you be vulnerable. Because if you're not going to be vulnerable, I mean, I can hold space for you, but there will be some things where we will have to have vulnerable talks. And if you're not going to be comfortable with that, I will not be able to help you, address those things and break those things. And I think that's where having a safe space makes a whole lot of.
Absolutely. And I think you've touched on a very important topic there about how, if we talk about it from an Indian context, we have been under someone else's rule. That is why Indian people tend to be either really good at following rules and instructions, or they tend to be very good at breaking them or being angry at them. But there is always this inherent anger. If you will see, there is always somewhere you would have heard someone in your life talk about, why do we have to do this? Why are teachers like this? Why is our education system like this? Why is politics like? Because we are questioning, but we don't do anything about it because we've been made to feel powerless for such a long time, and it has been inherited over generations and generations that we still forget that we are not powerless anymore. But we keep repeating that same cycle of complaining and doing nothing about it. And that's why a lot of us feel like procrastination paralysis, sort of, that we keep saying stuff, but we never do anything about it. And we think we cannot do anything about it.
Definitely. I think one of the biggest challenges I had when I had to set up my business, and this happened when I decided that I'm going to quit my job for some other reasons. I had a very bad health scare, and I was like, nothing's worth my worth beyond my mental peace. And I was like, okay, I'm done. And I mean, I was someone, and I didn't even know this. So I think I'm going to go back to the story of how this happened. So I was someone who, since a young age, like I'm an only child, which means that I had to make do with not having company to play with, and the place where I was staying, there were not a lot of people. So it means that I had to find unique ways to keep myself occupied. And it is so strange that I would think about doing this as a game as a 4-year-old, and that's where I feel that there's a spiritual aspect to getting into business. As a 4-year-old, I used to think that I have a business. That's what pretend play was. I know people do ghar ghar and all of that stuff. My pretend play was I have a business. So I'm instructing people who has, and I think I would have seen this somewhere. That's what I'm basing this on, because as a 4-year-old, definitely things were very different back in the 90s. I remember that the pretend play was, I'm telling someone, you have to unload this, you have to keep this arranged. I am helping them arranging things. I'm looking at, oh, I need to make a bill. I need to give the bill to someone. And that's what I used to pretend. Of course, the pretend play for me was being a teacher. And I think, yeah, my coaching container helps me bring, bring together both of these things. But that's what I used to pretend play. I know that computers got introduced around 2000, and I was fortunate enough to get a computer at my house because my dad's a tech freak, and I have diaries with me. Luckily, I save everything. For me, the fact that I went back to it one day made me realize that there are some dreams that I've left behind. It's time to work on them. I picked up a diary from when I was 12 or 13, and I remember writing down things like send invoice, pay bills. I mean, 13-year-old knowing the word invoice is great. And I know I probably lost that because of some corruption or something in the hard disk. But I remember I used to make PPTs. I used to think I'm pitching my business. I had a company name, I had a logo, I had a tagline. I knew what I wanted to do. And funnily, I knew at that time I wanted different verticals. I knew this as well, that it's not going to be one business, it's going to be multiple businesses. And somewhere I strayed away from this thing because I was told two things. First of all, I was told we don't have enough money. Business needs money. So, you need to invest a lot. You need to have lakhs or crore rupees. And of course, I mean, I'm glad today we are in a world where we don't need that. That was first thing. Second thing is, I was told that you need to do a job. And I don't know why this was drilled into my head. Study well, get a job. Study well, get a job. Get a high paying job. Study more, get a better job, get a high paying job. I think I am fortunate to know that there was a backstory to it, and I have been able to work with you and, of course, even on my end to help me break this. So one of the reasons why we had a lot of job thing got get drilled into our heads was the fact that my grandfather, he had a business and he worked at a job for quite a number of years, and then after that he set up a business. And the business didn't do well. Of course, it's not that he didn't set up the business well. He got cheated. So like he had a business partner, the business partner cheated him of everything. And like my family went from riches to rags. We've heard about rags to riches story. We went from riches to rags. Where probably my family didn't even know where the next meal is going to come from. Right? From living a very, very comfortable, lavish life, they went down to this. So the way they look at it is, no, this is like business is bad. You don't do business. And like they rebuild their lives by through education and getting a job. And that's why they say, oh, we built our life. See, हमने ये कर दिया. We are now stable and we are able to provide you with something. So we don't want you to get into business. And I get that because their childhood trauma is my father went into business. I had to struggle. I had a difficult childhood, which I could have had an easy childhood, if not otherwise. And that got passed down. I think I'm fortunate to know this story because if I didn't know this story, I wouldn't have been able to break that pattern. So, and luckily, I feel I'm glad I have a spiritual side to me because when I am integrating both of these things together, the way I look at it is I am meant to break that pattern that got passed on from one generation to another, which says that you can't do a business. Because why otherwise would a 4-year-old me be talking about business? And it's been there. I remember even when I was at a job, I used to be like, okay, I'll do a job, I'll earn enough money, and I'll invest that money somewhere. That's how I used to think about it. And for me, that was my calling. And somewhere when I started working on healing my generational trauma is when I realized that, okay, I need to address it. And it's very difficult. It's not just generational trauma about business, but it's also a lot of trauma related to money, where you're taught that, oh, money is limited, money is scarce. Because they have jobs. And not just that, I don't think so. They've even invested a lot. Like they wouldn't be working on their investments. They're not working on building a very, let's say, any financial aspect to it. So there were multiple things that came up with it. So I would definitely advise the people who are listening, if you feel that you have some trauma that's being passed on, please talk to your family and find out stories. Because if you're not going to find out certain stories, you're not going to understand what it is that you need to heal. And then you can work towards it. Because when I look at my grandfather's journey, he built an amazing business. The business was built well. The business did well. The problem was trusting some, right? And an interesting family. You got to get into that. But yeah, the takeaways for me from my grandfather's stories are: A, have a good team by your side, have a trustworthy right hand by your side, and we don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's how I'm looking at it. Funny, my uncle ended up trying to do the same thing. And I'm like, okay, haven't you learned something from what the grandfather went through? My uncle did the same thing. He set up a business and he gave it to someone else to handle, who was a relative. And I mean, I think he was very calculative with that money. But of course, he didn't make a lot of it. And I'm like, I have found people whom I don't know. Like I have clients, I have coaches, I have people that I work with and I dedicate my work to. I have never met them, but I know they are the people who vibe with my value system, whom I know I can have trustworthy people. And that's what my major takeaway has been, that I would rather build a business with the people that I trust rather than it being something that's family. And then you can't be blaming that business didn't run well. You did the same mistake. I mean, imagine if my uncle would have built a business hiring the right person rather than hiring someone who says, oh, I'm related to you. Things would be very different.
You have just touched on again so many points and I have so much to say. I'm going to make a note of the thing that you said right at the end of hiring someone you white instead of relatives. So I'm going to make a lot of points on that. But I love that you already answered the question that I had for you, was what propelled you to start a business, and you've already answered it in such a way, going back down to your childhood. I love that because that's a story I also love doing, because I saw my grandfather has this shop, like how we have this and Sons, the name of the guy and Sons. So I've had that shop and I've sat in that shop and I've seen this calculator and I would sit as a young kid, like a little kid with the specs of someone random, those circle specs. And I would place it over here, have a calculator and sit in this wooden thingy. And it was like very old school shop, like in a village sort of a thing. And I'll be like, yeah, this is your total. And I would make a fake laptop out of my dad's visiting card holder. So my dad would have this box in which the visiting cards come in and it opens both the sides and it just opens like that. So I would put it like this so that I have a laptop and I would pretend to have a laptop. My whole dream forever has to be type on a laptop. I want to type on a laptop and pretend I'm doing stuff. That's why my typing speed is so fast at this point, because I've been practicing and building myself for it forever. And I love that you mentioned that you're grateful to know the stories in your family. I do want to point out that even if someone listening to this is like, but I don't know any stories, how can I work on them? Honey, you can still work on them. Do not worry. We've had a lot of interactions. If you will listen to the episode right before this, I never knew, like I had a guest come onto the podcast and do intergenerational trauma healing for me on the spot on the podcast. And I never knew that this is something my dad is carrying. I never knew that my dad has, I am not good enough, I didn't listen sort of stories from his father, my grandfather. I didn't know that. But when I did that healing with him on the spot, I was able to find all of those patterns right away, even without knowing those stories. And that is the same. Like we have all of these spiritual tools and guides to connect with and get information from. So when you step into my containers, you can always do that. But you also mentioned a really good thing of talk, find out the stories. You still have time. But the best way I would recommend, at least from like an Indian context, is talk to each other's side to understand the stories. So my mom told me a lot of shit about my dad's side, and my dad told me a lot of shit about my mom's side. But they didn't tell shit about their own families. And I was like, that is the best way to go about if you want to figure out, because I wanted to build a full traumagram of were there suicides in my family? Were there not like we built health histories, like who died of a heart attack, blood pressure, and everything. I wanted to know who died of a suicide, who died because of an accident, who killed someone, and all of that. And and how would I ask my mom, do you have any murderers in your family? Now that no one is going to answer. If you're listening to this and you're like, where do I start this work? Start here, the gossip. Go collect the gossip of your family. That's the best way to go about things. And also the things that you might have heard, because most of the times you might have eavesdropped the conversations. And those are very hush-hush conversations, especially things around trauma, things around, I have someone in my family who was abandoned because they couldn't bear children. And then the person remarried. And the person who was abandoned, she committed suicide. No one's going to talk about that. But someone did, because I know that story and no one told it to me directly. And that is exactly how you need to jog your memory. Now, I want to talk about the thing that you said about hiring someone you vibe with. A lot of people, along with the relatives part of it, along with relatives, they hire interns who are college students, graduates, and everything, because they have to pay them less. I have done that. I have hired my own classmate for being my social media manager. That was my first ever hire. It ended so badly, and she was such a good friend of mine. And I feel like I've lost that good friendship. We are still back, but not as back as we were. But I lost that friendship because we made it into a business just because it was easier to navigate. Stop going for easy and start hiring experts for your business, at least to the extent that you can. Stop working with these interns and graduates. And if you want to, cool, but don't carry forward it forever, because people are not willing to let go of them when their business is expanding. And it hurts the business, which is very difficult. Now, I know you mentioned really good juicy stories in your family line and how it might have impacted your business. And I am so glad that you shared them so openly and vulnerably, because I know there are going to be people listening to this and being like, wow, that happened with me too. That happened in my family too. Definitely, my uncle has had people who took loans from him and didn't give him money back. And that's like more than like 20 lakhs or around 1 crore. Like this is the range of money. Okay, so I know you have had an uncle or someone who took your money or like who took someone's money, whatever was happening. I want to ask that these programming, these stories, limiting beliefs, how did you work on these inside the coaching container that we were in?
I think first, I don't know if we had some foundational work done before I entered the container, because I knew that I was able to tell you I want to work through these things. And I know by the time we started the container, one of the things that I had somehow worked on was that I knew I was capable of getting it. Of course, I am still dealing with doubt. I am dealing with, am I worthy of receiving all of these things? But definitely, I think have someone who guides you. Like for me, the biggest thing was having you hold that space for me. And that's what I say. I hold that space for my clients as well. I mean, as I said, I did start off as a VA, but I realized that somewhere when you do a business, right, and that's where my base of the coaching container also happens. You also need someone who guides you and also works with you. And that's what I'm trying to integrate. Was that's what one of my clients did. She wanted someone to be her sounding board. Right? You want to have one coach for this, you want to hire one person for that. Sometimes people just want one additional person to talk to get things done with. And that's the role that I play. And I feel very honored to play that role. So definitely, I think along with me, I'm going to do a fusion of what I did and what eventually I told my clients as well. Because again, anyone who's tuning in, if you ever be in my world, you realize that whatever I learn, I always pass it on to my clients. So they get tested first. I see if what I'm thinking, because see, I don't use a exact method. Let's see, even if I have a coach, even if it's Ashu, she tells me that this is one of the ways that I can work on this. I never do it the exact way. Somewhere I do it and then I'm trying to figure out my way of doing it, because that's how I'm wired and that's how I like to work. So this is like one of the things is understanding that you have a limiting belief. You need to be aware of it. And somewhere I do get into two things that I heavily believe in. I know these words have been thrown out a lot, but I know I used to do this as a kid as well. Is right. Somewhere we've lost the art of writing. I know it gets mentioned as something that says as journaling, but yeah, I mean, I simplify it and I say write down. Pick questions. Tell ChatGPT to give you questions. I mean, you have someone who can give you questions, or pick up prompts from online. Right. Even if you're someone who doesn't meditate or do visualization, or mindfulness, nothing. Just write down what's there heavy in your head, heavy on your heart. That gives you an insight of what you're struggling with. That's when, like, I know people are like, "Oh, where do I keep it? Or write it and burn it, put it in the dustbin." I don't know why people think that, oh, people will read my diary. My dear, not everyone is interested. Like, you probably have that because someone in your home would have peeped into a diary, maybe by mistake once. But if you have nosy people in your house, go out, go to a cafe, write, and put it in the dustbin. After that, no one's going to trace you. I mean, you're not some international spy or something that everyone wants to read the entire rubbish that you throw in the garbage. But definitely writing helps. And no, not digital. Pick a pen, pick a paper, write down. And I genuinely believe that helps release so many emotions. You don't know what you're holding back. Start writing. You'll be thinking, what do I write about? Start writing. You realize you're probably filling 10 pages and you're not even halfway done. So definitely one of the exercises that I truly believe in is start writing or start speaking. See, in my case, I was someone who was able to speak to you because I knew that I have done some work. I had some activations done. I had some healings done, which helped me talk. But if you can't talk to someone, then start writing. Be self-aware in terms of what are the limiting beliefs you have, so that when you do get to a coach or when you are onboarded by a coach, you can tell them what it is that you're struggling with. Because if you don't tell them, they can't help you. There's no way that's done. Secondly, is definitely question every belief that you have. Like, let's say, for example, I am going out and I'm thinking that, no, I am supposed to, like, this is a very generic example. No, I'm supposed to take a bus or a train. I shouldn't spend on an auto rickshaw or an Uber or a cab. Ask yourself why. In fact, this is one of the things that I have done is I used to think that, oh, I am not earning much. I should go by bus. I should go by bus. What I didn't realize was the kind of time I'm wasting. People don't, like, everyone's looking at money as a currency. No one is looking at time as a currency. And the moment I realized that, and I did that by questioning, why do people say this? And then I'm like, okay, we're looking at money aspect. What about time aspect? When you put those together is when you realize that I am probably spending a lot more time. And see, time, I know it's infinite, but it's finite as well. Like, let's admit it, we're not immortals. We are mortals. You have some time in your life. You don't know how much time you have in your life. So ensure that you're being very mindful of where you're spending your time and where you're spending your money. Have a balance between it. Everything can't be money. And see, let's say you're having a tired day at work and then you're like, oh, I have to take the bus. It means that you are propagating that limiting belief. You're living that limiting belief that says that I cannot spend on an auto rickshaw or a cab one day for my convenience. You are living that. It's like an embodiment of your limiting beliefs. So some days definitely do that. Like start small. Start by doing a very small thing where you are looking to break. Right? Maybe leave office on time. I mean, I know that we working professionals. I want to touch base about them as well. Do that. Do this thing of, oh, I can do that. I can leave on time. No one's gonna say anything. You are thinking someone is gonna say. You have done your work. Please leave on time. Spend time with your friends. Go out and meet your friends. I mean, I'd like to talk because we're talking about limiting beliefs. I'll tell you one client story that I have, which is amazing, and then I'll go my story. So one of my clients used to think that she used to be available all the she used to be available on Saturdays and Sundays. It's not like she's working with a lot of people. Okay, there were limited people she was working with. And I ended up joining her. And then I asked her, why are you working on Saturdays and Sundays? I am a person who said, I don't work Saturdays. Sundays, bugger off. I even take weekdays. What are we talking about? And then she said, no, but this and that. And we worked on those things. And that's where I joined her as a VA, but then I ended up being a coach, and now I'm like probably a right hand in business. That's how it transitioned. But when I asked her why, there was no answer. It was just that someone needs me. Does someone need you? The answer is no. Has someone ever needed you? No. Maybe certain durations in a year, but otherwise no. And right now, I can tell you it's been about 2 years. I've worked with her in very different capacities. She takes Saturdays and Sundays off. She works on a Saturday or a Sunday if she feels that she wants to do it because she's excited, not because she has to. There's a difference, right? And this is where I say about being an energy. Do something because you filled with joy and you can't wait to do it. Like that you're doing it because of excitement and not because, oh, I have to do this. See, this is where your energy changes. Doing something grudgingly vis-a-vis doing something because you're excited about it. So, okay, so my client takes Saturdays and Sundays off. She takes a midweek, okay, she takes a Wednesday off to work on herself, to take time off, to do yoga, to spend time with the son. She does all of that. And she is full. She is full to the brim. Okay, she's cut down her days of work. She has set up better boundaries, and yet she is full to the brim. She's overflowing. That's what I'm so happy for her. You might be thinking someone was available 7 times a week, should have more clients. My client works 4 days a week. She can't handle the clients that she has to tell people, no, I don't have time for you. Let's see if I can adjust for you, right? You work on your limiting beliefs, you set better boundaries, you actually attract the right kind of people that want to work with you, want to work for you, then never hesitate to step away from an opportunity that doesn't feel right for you. I know I spoke to Ashu about this. There have been a lot of people who were on my other account. They saw these stories where I had to let go of someone that I was working with and someone that I knew since childhood. And I struggled a lot with how do I let go of that opportunity? And I realized it wasn't working. It just wasn't working for me. And that's when I found another opportunity at the right time. Because I realized that everything need not be controlled by you. Some of the times when you're working with limiting beliefs, you think that I have to be the person who does everything. I'm telling this to my clients, so I'm gonna share it on the podcast as well. Try delegating it to the universe. Say that universe, can you please take care of this for me? If you think you're a solopreneur, you don't have any team member, you have one team member, and that's called you guides, your universe, spirit. You want to give it, ancestors, whatever floats your boat, whatever belief you have, try delegating it to a higher power. Like I know everyone believes in some higher power. It could be science as well. Right? Delegate it to the power that you know exists beyond you, outside of you, and see the magic. I have seen that happen where I was able to let go of an opportunity that didn't align with me and bring in another opportunity that came to me out of the blue. Like, I didn't even know one of my other friends wanted to hire someone. And she was like, can you, like, do you do these kind of things? Do you know someone else? And I'm like, yeah, I do it. She said, can you please come on board? It took me 2 days to get onboarded there. Right. And that's what I did, where I said, that no, this doesn't work for me. The kind of activities that are happening, the way we are working doesn't work for me. And as we speak, I am probably going through another transition because some other opportunity also wasn't working for me. I feel like I don't have the time freedom. And I think one of my biggest takeaways from my journey has been that I have started valuing time a lot more than what I value money. I need my freedom. I need my free time. I need to move through multiple things, and that's what I am doing at this moment. I'm a coach for someone, I'm a VA for someone. I have my family, I have friends, I have a business, I have a podcast, and probably I may do 10 other things by the time I talk to Ashu next. But that's what I like to do. I like to flow between projects, and I'll tell you this, the clients that I have in my world, I let them know what I'm moving through. And I have clients who said that I am so happy for you to transition into this. Like when I was a VA and I had a couple of clients and I told them, listen, I want to get into coaching. And they're like, I am so happy for you that you're transitioning into this. I feel that you'll do wonderfully there. Now we are able to now negotiate on something. Okay, what can I continue doing? What can I not do? And we are talking on that level. And for me, I think that's the kind of clients you want. If you're someone who's thinking, will I get these kind of clients? There's someone out there who's telling they have these kind of exact clients who's supporting people through transitions, through their journeys, and they are excited for your journey because they're not looking at you as an employee or a team member, but they're looking at you as a partner who's with them in their business. And that's the kind of vibe and that's the kind of energy you need to work with. And that's why I do what I do. Coming to addressing a second point that I definitely want to talk about, if we have the time to jump on this, I definitely want to ask that to Ashu. So one of the things that you spoke about, right? Hiring people. I'll tell you one thing. My experience has been a lot different. And I definitely want to give another part of this because I understand where you're coming from, but I'll also give you mine. When someone is looking to hire interns for the sake of I will save money, that's a very bad energy that you're giving. Because you're putting yourself in a lack mentality that says that I can't afford a help. Instead, if you really want to hire interns, because I know I was hired an intern in a corporate setting, of course, but the way I look at it is, if you want to hire an intern or someone who's studying or someone that you know works with you, do it because either you want them to gain that experience. So if it's interns, do it because you want them to gain certain experience and for them to then move ahead. So you also know that you're helping someone else grow. Do it because you want to help someone else. So you are not holding on to them and you're not going to be like, oh, I'm not ready to let you go. No, don't come from that. They come from an energy of, okay, I'll hire an intern because they would love to have that experience. Let them get a taste of what it is to work in such a capacity. Let them learn. And once they learn, they want to move ahead, let them move. That's fine. That's point number one. Point number two, sometimes, as I said, you find people online space, don't know, but you can probably call them online. And I've had that for a long time where, I mean, I'm a Mumbaiker, so I've also had train friends. People you met in the train, and then, you built a long-lasting relationship with. That exists. I have Instagram friends, I have train friends, I have had bus friends. I have so many friends like that. So there's a lot of categories that goes in because I like one of the clients that I work for. She hired me because she knows me, but the the hiring point was not what I can do, but for the fact that she is able to trust me and she knows that whatever she throws my way, I'll do it to the best of my ability. That is her requirement. And you see, your requirements are very different. And I do that as well. Like if I want to hire someone, I'd hire them for the fact that I know I can trust them to do their work. My viewpoint is the world is changing a lot. And it's okay. Like you can probably have experts. But if there's going to be a lot of tussle because the way you work doesn't match, your values do not match, it doesn't matter who's an expert. You finally going to end up clashing. You're going to end up with a very, sad thing in terms of relationships getting spoiled, right? So if you want to hire a friend, please do it, but ensure that you are able to set those boundaries and you are able to have a very, very clear conversation. I am right now going through a transition where I'm working with it and I'm gonna tell her, listen, this is not working out for me, and it's okay if I can take an exit rather than spoiling a long year long friendship. But you need to step up and have that conversation. So think about the kind of energy you're working in. If I'm going to be someone who says, I can't hire someone, I'm not making money, guess what? Universe is listening. Your energy is vibing like that. You are not going to make money. And that's where I find a lot of contradictions. And one of the work that I do is highlight these contradictions. It says that, okay, we want to welcome, right? And I'd like to go back to that example because that was a very big learning for me. That if I'm not accepting of compliments or love, I'm not going to be accepting of money that comes my way, right? Similarly, if you want to be someone who says, I want abundance in my life, I want to make money in my business, but you are not ready to invest for the growth of your business. And if you're going to work with, oh, I can't hire someone until and unless I make X amount, sorry, you are not going to be there because somewhere your input needs to come, and do it with the trust that things will work out for you, right? Don't be reckless. I understand that I can't be, I mean, I love being Delulu, but I mean, there's a limit to being Delulu, right? You can't be spending all your money and then expect that I have nothing. No, there's this. I mean, I'm someone who's a finance graduate, so I think from that aspect that okay, you need to do a little bit of planning, but don't hold on to your money thinking, oh, I can't even spend a little bit for myself. I can't even spend a little bit for my business. Go out, put yourself out there, and ask if there are people who can work for the kind of budget you have. I have had that experience where I was able to bring in someone in my business who is working on a project basis, where I'm like, okay, this is my budget. Do you think this is gonna work for you? And then we cut it down to that level that that person say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, great, I can work with it. I at least have someone doing some part of the work that I have to do. And from there, I can take it ahead. And even with one of my clients, that's the kind of hiring we're doing. Because you spoke about internship, that's the tangent I went to, because we ended up hiring some interns for her just because of the reason that she wants to understand if they are able to vibe with the kind of the kind of work she wants to get done. And I am not someone who's from the same field. I am not someone who would end up being an expert. But I know, yet, in spite of all of this, I am able to get the work done for her the way she wants it because there's a shared value system, there's a shared passion. When you are either a coach or you're working in someone's business as an OSP, this is my biggest takeaway for like all of you. Be invested in them. Like genuinely want with your heart that they grow manifold, and someone else growing doesn't take away from you at all. Work on this this energy and question all your beliefs, work on a visualization activity. Like one of the things I definitely recommend and I do it with my clients is if you're aiming for something, try to do a visualization activity that says that you've achieved it already. You're probably in a 3D or a 5D space and you've achieved it already and you genuinely believe it. Maybe it may take time. It's okay. I mean, I didn't even realize that if I look at our container, we did a lot of work towards the end because the beginning meant that I had to heal myself to reach where I am today, where I have set up my podcast, where I am in the phase of setting up my product-based business, which I talked to Ashu, and ironically, it came out in the second last call. I still remember that call. I'm going back to that to make notes. But that's how it is. My journey with you, I think one thing I definitely realized is if you're not going to heal on the parts that need healing, you will definitely struggle to go ahead. And it comes out in all aspects, personal and business. They both impact each other, and your beliefs spill into so many other areas of your life that you don't realize it. And that's where I think the key is challenge every belief you have. Find evidence that says that your limiting beliefs are something that's either been taken by through someone else or something that you're assuming because the people around you are saying, oh, you can't do it. The way I am working today is and I know there are very few people who are doing this, but this exists, this happens, this works. There are people who are doing a job and a business. They're doing, I know people call it a side hustle. I'm telling you, I know people who do a job and a business. Definitely difficult. You need to be very clear and transparent in your communication at all places, but people do it. Someone, used to say earlier that you can do only a job or only a business. I mean, I have done both of them and I've been doing well. And the manager in me loves that because it means I can shift from one to another anytime that I want to, and it works for me. Maybe it may or may not work. But you'll understand what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But if you're someone who says, I enjoy doing this, but I don't think so, I can do it, please challenge the beliefs and ask, why do you think you can't do it? Find evidence and then go and do it anyway. I think that.
I love that. I love shared about the part. I wanted you to really talk about the doing business and job at the same time is possible because that is one of the biggest mottos in my world that you can do it both, you can do all, you don't have to choose. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both. And I love that you mentioned about writing because I was just reading the book Body Keeps the Score, and there is so much research on processing via writing and why it is so powerful because there is no lens of judgment. When you're telling someone else, you're trying to adapt to their social expressions or facial expressions of what they think of you. They don't look so, and you're so defensive about your trauma and your deepest experiences. The moment there is a slight weird expression, even the slightest twitch of the facial muscles, you change your story or you get out of touch of your story and you don't feel your emotions properly. But when you're writing, it's just you, there's no one to judge. And I love that you touched on all of these beautiful things. As we move towards the end of this podcast, I do want to mention one thing, that is the energy you have brought to my containers and the bond we have formed over the years is something I cherish so much. And I would love for you to share about your experience about working with me or anything that you would like to say to the people listening to this. And then we will move into how can someone find you.
Where do I start? I don't know. But yeah, I think let's start with how this podcast happened. And I mean, I genuinely have that. I don't know how else to express it. It's like genuine heartfelt love for Ashu. And I'm very sad that I discovered you after you moved to Australia because otherwise I would have loved to, like spend some more time with you. I know I had time with you in the retreat, but I know it is staying too small. But yeah, I think that's what I learned. The way I look at it is you're always taught to love. You're never taught to be guarded. You're guarded once you get some experience, right? A child is generally innocent. They know to love everyone. But we get taught all of the other things in the midst of all of those things. But I mean, look at this podcast. It is so magical. Both of us didn't realize this was happening on level 11. And I realized it later. And I'm like, I'm telling Ashu, and I am under the impression that Ashu knows this. And she's like, no, I didn't even realize. And that's where I feel that this podcast is so magical. That we are doing it on 11/11. And I was like, I literally taken a day off from work just so that I can be, in this podcast. And I gave that time because I genuinely wanted to do this very, like, be part of having a conversation with Ashu, but I can't express the bond that I have. She understands. I don't need to tell her that I want to take time. She knows where she can trust me. She knows that if I have said that I'm going to be with her or I'm going to get in, she knows that, okay, I mean, I took a contract from her. She knows I'm going to take my time to sign, but she knows that I'm going to be in there. And that's the bond that you have when you are vulnerable. I don't think so that I've had anyone else with whom I've been so vulnerable. And for me, being with Ashu has shown me that I can be my most vulnerable, have someone have space for me. And I know that in turn, I've done that for you as well, where unknowingly, I didn't even know I held space for you. And we um, talked about so many topics. We've helped each other heal. And I've learned that. That's how coaching containers are. It's not one way. It's supposed to be both the ways. And you started off as my coach, but somewhere you ended up being my, and that's how I look at that journey. And that's why I said, she says I'm a spiritual business bestie. She is. She is. There's no word that I have. But it doesn't matter where she lives. My connection with you has been where we're probably different time zones, different continents, but I know that you understand me and I know that I have space for you where you don't need to explain things to me. And I'm like, chill. I'm there for you. And for me, that embodiment is supremely special. I don't know if I can say more, but having you in my life has helped me discover Vidhu. I have been able to embody more of who Vidhu is, take a lot of bold decisions. I mean, my last year has been a roller coaster, and I think the next 1.5 months, I'm also looking at another roller coaster. But I've also learned this that through my healings, through my work that I'm doing, through the guidance that you've given me, that I know things will work out for me. And when I move with that belief, I know that that's what creates that magic. You, in somewhere, I know you have paved the way because when I look at you, I am reminded of a 20-year-old Vidhu who was working with a lot of limiting beliefs and conditions. And that's where I feel like Shu is doing what I had wanted to do. And I'm like, I know I'm your biggest cheerleader. I have no qualms about admitting that. I'm always going to be there. I don't have a pop bomb today. I know have been done like this sitting with a pop bomb, but I don't think so. There's that I can describe the bond that we have. I don't know what we have yet to do in each other's lives. What else are we supposed to help each other with? I know that this journey is just started and it's gonna be a long way. Maybe we had some past life addiction. I have no clue. I just probably have to ask someone to do this. But my biggest takeaway is that not just have you held space, but that's what I'm saying. You've helped me connect with so many people that have become a very integral part of my spiritual world because sometimes I connect with them, sometimes they help me. Sometimes we are or like so from one of Ashu's group program, we have formed a community where we talk to each other, whether on WhatsApp, we chat with each other, we are helping each other, through whatever challenges that we are facing, we found a tribe and like Ashu probably doesn't know. And no, Ashu is not part of that tribe. See, we've kept her out. It's only the clients thingy. But see, that's what is being created. And one of I read this and I think we both of us are on that journey. I read this that post 2020 is when there's been a timeline of the world needs healers, and that's what the world has been trying to do in the past 4 or 5 years. Is there are a lot of healers that are coming to the surface that are getting to know about their abilities. And in terms of human design, I think there's a major shift that's happening in 2020s. But the way I look at it is we are part of that cosmic universe where we're supposed to help other people, where we're supposed to help other people heal, and in that process, heal ourselves as well. And throughout my different containers with you, I've discovered myself, I've healed myself a lot more. And today I speak. I mean, I don't think so I would have been able to do this podcast if it wasn't for the healing that I underwent, for the learnings that I've had. It's not just because it's not been just business, it's been a personal level for me. The transformation has been personal. The transformation hasn't been business for sure. But I know that these personal transformations were very much needed for me to move into doing what I need to do at the business level. Because if I'm not going to show up authentically, if I'm not going to show up in my fierce lioness energy in my business, there's no way I'm going to be able to propel that the way I want to. And for me, that has been the key aspect of being in every container with you is I have healed myself, my generational traumas, I've healed my personal traumas, I've been more accepting. I still remember I told you one story that someone was ready to pay me for service and I'm like, no, you don't need to pay me. I think, what am I doing? Like today I can think about it. Imagine that's the level of limiting beliefs that I came in when we met like a year ago. And today I'm like, when someone says that, they want to pay me extra, I'm like, thank you. I'm not like you don't pay. I'm like, thank you. I'm welcoming it. So yeah, I always get a wrong answer. I should was this. But definitely one of the other wish list would be to fly to Australia to see. I think if I ever come to Australia, I come to Australia just for the sake of meeting you. That's the kind of love that I have, and that's the kind of relation that Ashu has built. I don't need someone else has it or not. If I'm the only person who has it, great. I feel very special. I feel very honored, and I want that space for myself. And I want to be unapologetically taking that space in your life.
I love that. Thank you so much, Vidhu, for sharing such lovely words. And I believe that has definitely given a picture into what it is like to work with me, because every person that I'm interviewing, the one thing that they definitely say is, working with Ashu, I have made such bold decisions that people around me are like, that's too bold. But for the other person on the receiving end of this who's making those decisions, they don't think of it as bold because it has become their normal. And I definitely want you to stay in your fierce lioness energy. So tell us, where can we find you and work with you? Where can we find you to tap into your fierce lioness feline energy? And I will link it in the show notes, and we'll wrap this up.
So you can find me on my new accounts. I've definitely shifted to a new account because there's been a massive shift in the way I am working. You can find me at The Mystical Leo. So putting that link in would be much better because the spelling is a little weird. But I think, in fact, for me, the name itself, the account which I've started newly, it's been just a month, I guess. For me, the fact that I have an account that speaks about the Leo in me, highlights that fierce lioness energy in me, is like taking that first step towards being me, being the authentic me, honoring the fierce lioness energy in me. So definitely check me out there. Apart from that, definitely I also have a podcast of my own, which is called as I Am Vidhu. I am podcast with Vidhu, and I'll ask Ashu to link that as well below. We do touch base upon things about the self, and for me, that's a space where I am answering some of the questions, and I'm also asking questions that probably make you think and help you get in tune with who you are and be more close to your authentic self. So definitely check that out. We talk about a lot of stuff related to the self, and I think that's a way I like to give back. And the way I look at it is, it's a way for you to go on a journey that I have had, and I'm wanting to share that with you. So I definitely share tips, tricks, questions, deep diving into certain topics, and wondering what it is that we can discover more about ourselves. So definitely check that out. There's going to be some new episodes dropping in soon in the next couple of weeks. So definitely you should check.
Thank you. I'll make sure to link both of those things below. And yes, that podcast has been a project of ours. The first episode of that podcast was recorded when we were on the retreat. And then the next episodes were recorded and gotten done when we were working together in the one-on-one coaching container, and the podcast got out. And I feel like I've helped so many people launch their podcast. It just feels like I'm grandmothers of podcasts at this point, and I love it. But thank you so much, Vidhu, for coming on to the podcast today and sharing such amazing insights.
I just love being in your space, Ashu. As I always say, Ashu magic gets sprinkled every time, and I'm sure it has got sprinkled on this podcast as well. On such an epic day, I still can't believe we've been doing this on such a magical day, and I'm sure the people are going to benefit because we've tapped into the energies of this heavy, amazing portal. So please, I mean, do hear it out. I'm sure it's going to benefit you in magical ways that you can't even imagine. And yes, please follow Ashu wherever you can. Find her wherever you can. Be part of her programs, whatever you can. Just stalk her profile. Okay, she does a lot of free programs. You're going to benefit highly from it. The kind of insights I've had from her free programs is amazing. So if nothing else, just stalk her profile. Okay, I mean, I can't stress it enough. Just do.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, talk all you want. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for tuning into your Spiritual Business Coach podcast and for listening to this episode. You've made it till the end of this episode, which means you have received a lot of universal codes that were packed into it. So take time to receive them, let them get coded in your soul. And if you're feeling a little too generous, I would love for you to drop me a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening this. If you feel the nudge to tell me what you felt about this episode or to inquire on how you can work with me, drop me a message on Instagram at Listening Stories Untold, and I will see you in the next episode.